Hey there. If you're a play therapist, I'm going to bet there have been times in your life or your career, I'll say, when you probably felt like you were on an island all by yourself and feeling a little isolated and alone and really kind of struggling to feel like you are connected with other play therapists who are giving you ideas and sharing resources. I think we've all been there at some point in time. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today. I've been kind of talking about community lately and um, burnout and avoiding burnout and staying fresh as a play therapist. I mean, here's the thing, we're in the mental health field. If you're a play therapist, and you are probably having session after session after session, maybe 4, 5, even 6, maybe more than that, sessions a day where you're showing up, being fully present or trying to in each session. It can be hard. And then throw in a challenging case or a difficult situation and not having other play therapists around to bounce ideas off can feel very isolating. Or raise your virtual hand if you have ever had this happen to you. You're in a group practice or you're in an agency that's predominantly therapists working with adults and you're working with kids. Your play therapy sessions get very active. Um, that's code for loud. And your colleagues are getting a little frustrated with all the noise and they're asking you to keep it down because you're interfering with their sessions and causing problems. That can be really disheartening, frustrating, challenges. Like, I get it. I don't mean anything against the adult therapists working with adults. I totally get it. But play therapy is loud, can be loud. Like, I totally get it. And at the same time, they're kids. Kids are active. If you want to get them engaged in the change process and healing, that's the whole benefit of play therapy, helping children access those therapeutic powers of play. So, what's a play therapist to do? And that's what I want to talk about today. So, if that's you, then definitely stay tuned, join the conversation. So, I'm Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a registered play therapist here in the US. I have been in the child and adolescent mental health field for almost 35 years now. That seems really weird to say. And so one of the things I am passionate about is helping children heal socially and emotionally. And I would even say spiritually. I think there's an aspect to the work that we do. And I'm not talking religious, I'm talking the spiritual aspects, considering ourselves to be more kind of like body, mind, and soul, spirit, that kind of thing. Uh, It's, it's, um, it can be challenging as a play therapist. So that's what I want to talk about today is getting support. You don't have to do it alone to help children heal. And so if you're listening, I would love to see who's here. Join in the conversation. Post your name in the comments, what population you're working with. Are you in an agency? Are you in with other play therapists? Are you the only play therapist in your agency? Are you in private practice? So you're kind of solo doing things, your own play therapy practice. So so let's get started for today. Also, if you find this information helpful, please feel free to share it with your colleagues. If you're listening on any of the channels where I am broadcasting live, which I go live every week, Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific time, also known as Las Vegas time or Los Angeles time here in the United States. Every Wednesday, 7 a.m., talking about all things play therapy. So if you find the information helpful, please feel free to share this. Feel free to like the platform. Probably if you're watching the replay, I would still also love to know who's listening. Post your name, post your comments, all of those good things. Join the conversation. I think a lot of people listen to the replay, and I would still, join the conversation. For those of you listening on the podcast, I would love it if you would leave a review. Give me your feedback. That's kind of one of the ways I find out if this is helpful or not. Otherwise, it sometimes feels like I'm just talking and looking at the little green lights on my phone for Instagram and on my computer for LinkedIn and YouTube. So being a play therapist, I remember I was fresh out of graduate school, and I'd always wanted to work with children. If you've listened to any of my previous episodes, I've talked about it a little bit in the past. When I was a little girl, I was going to save the world. I wanted to help children. I always wanted to help children. I I always thought that, everybody knew what they wanted to do, and I realized, well, that's not necessarily the case. But I feel fortunate that I kind of had a direction and a goal I wanted to go in. It's kind of changed over time in different ways, but still the main focus of helping children heal has always been a passion and a drive for me. And now at this stage in my life, my passion and drive is really helping and supporting other play therapists. Well, one of the things I realized when I was getting started, fresh out of grad school, very excited. I got my first job and there was a playroom there. I was really excited. And because I had learned about play therapy when I was in my special education, the school psychologist was and social worker, they were learning this play therapy thing back in the 80s, and they were sharing it with me, and I was kind of intrigued, but in my mid 20s, I was a little confused. But then the school psychologist did a play therapy group with my class, and I kind of co-facilitated, and I was hooked from there. That kind of really changed the direction that I went professionally, and that's how I ended up where I am. But I remember my first job, and there was a playroom, and I was super excited, and I had these amazing supervisors to kind of mentor me and help me apply those skills and grow as a professional. And again, I mentioned I worked with kids and adolescents, but the kids, nobody knew how to play, nobody knew how to work with them. And when my supervisors would give me feedback when I would ask for help, they would, in a very well-intentioned way, say, just do the best you can, it'll be okay. And kind of the underlying thing was they're kids, just, it's fine. But I didn't have any direction. I felt lost, and sometimes I felt like a big giant fraud, like maybe I'm not even helping and maybe I'm doing harm because I don't even know what I'm doing. Um, and then kind of fast forward 35 years almost, I'm still hearing the same story. I meet with people who are interested in my kind of VIP like consultation program where we get kind of really down and very hands-on to learn play therapy. And when I meet with people to find out if Play Therapy Academy is a good fit for them, I'm still hearing the same stories. And that makes me sad. So I thought, what can we do about that? And Play Therapy Academy, I feel like helps with that a lot, but it's very limited. There's only a limited number of people that can do play therapy and academy. And for some people, they don't need that level of support, or maybe they're not even ready for that level of support with Play Therapy Academy. But what I find in Play Therapy Academy is the community. And then I realized, oh, I've always been attracted to community. Like community's really big because when I was in Virginia, I live on the West Coast now. We moved across the country several years ago. When I was in Virginia, I had a group practice, and one of the main reasons, I would say even the driving force for starting a group practice specializing in play therapy is I wanted to create community. Now, this was back in the kind of the early 2000s, like 2006 is when I got this idea and started moving in that direction because there weren't any other play therapists around. And I thought, as play therapists, having support from each other where we could give each other ideas and support each other was important. And it did. It ended up being a really important thing and really helpful. And we shared ideas and we staffed cases and we did all the things. And nobody, nobody was saying, "Hey, can you keep it down? Your clients are bothering my session," which I get it. Again, if you're the only play therapist in a whole group where it's only adults, that can be a little awkward and difficult to navigate. So that so I thought, you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about community. So if you're part of a community, I'd love to share, like post a comment. What's your favorite thing? What do you find most beneficial about being in a community? If you're not in a community, what's your biggest struggle about not being in a community? So I would love to hear your feedback on that and post that in the comments. So today, what I want to do is share some challenges, 3 challenges that I find over and over still really happening today, and what you can do about it. The first one is real. This one's a big one, I think, that comes up a lot, which is feeling isolated and not having support. I hear this one all the time, that if you work in a private practice or maybe an agency and you're the only play therapist, or maybe you have maybe 1 or 2 play therapists, but you're so busy that you don't really have time to really connect, then this can be really challenging and you can feel like you are the only one. You're the only play therapist and kind of running out of ideas. Like if you have challenging cases, who do you staff them with? When you're feeling like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel lost, your imposter syndrome kicks in and you don't have anybody to share it with. Or maybe you have this really big win and you're super excited using play therapy. And who do you go to share that gets it, right? That gets play therapy, that gets the power of helping your child and adolescent clients access those therapeutic powers of play. Who do you go to share that with? Or maybe you have a really, really tough case and you need somebody to bounce ideas off of. Who do you go to? That can feel really frustrating. It can feel really isolating, and I feel like it can feel really draining, which kind of leads to the other thing I'll talk about a little bit, which is burnout, and emotional fatigue. So in my in my experience, having a community where you can share ideas with people who are supportive and helping you look at things maybe from a different perspective. I know that's one of the things that I think has been so powerful about Play Therapy Academy, is that it isn't just me. I mean, in Play Therapy when my mouth works. In Play Therapy Academy, there's a really strong community. We've got a really amazing group of play therapists and giving support. Like I might be focused on feedback in a certain area, and then you have several other play therapists looking at it maybe from a different lens or a different perspective, or they notice something different in a play therapy session because we'll watch videos or we'll um, share artwork to give feedback, look for themes, make sure you're applying your play therapy model in a way that's accurate for that model. And and so having those different perspectives gives a much more well-rounded experience of support. And I think that's a really helpful thing. At least I know in Play Therapy Academy, that's when you if you've listened. I've been kind of meeting, showing some of my previous live stream episodes. There, I've had some people on, some of the members of Play Therapy Academy share their experiences as well as their expertise. So you get a range of expertise when you're in a community, especially if you're in a community where you have maybe some people new to play therapy, maybe some people kind of in the middle of their career, maybe more seasoned play therapists providing feedback and support to each other, then that can be a really powerful thing. So getting into a community can be very, very beneficial and help you when your imposter syndrome kicks in. You'll have people pointing out where you did things really, really well, and it's not just you, and you're not as terrible as you think you are. The second thing is struggling to stay up to date and stay current in play therapy. I know when I was just getting started in play therapy, because it took me a while to find it after grad school, I wanted to learn all the things. I wanted to learn everything and anything. My mind was like a little sponge. I was on a mission to be the best play therapist possible, to do the best help I could, provide the best help I could to my child and adolescent clients and their families and parents. And what that meant, I needed to learn all the things. And so, somewhere along the line, I realized, you know what? I can learn all the things right now, but then there's more things coming. And at some point, I came to realize, you know what? I can't learn everything. Like, it can't just be me learning all the things. And so what I realized was I could count on my community to bring their expertise and where they felt passionate about in play therapy to work with children. And in a community, they bring that passion. So if you have a certain area that you are really motivated and it's kind of like your thing, like in Play Therapy Academy, we have people who are specialized in integrating somatic experiencing and EMDR into play therapy using art and expressive arts. We have people who are really passionate about working with neurodiverse children and staying up on the latest research and trends in working with neurodiverse children, or people are really passionate about working with anxiety and staying up on all of those things, or working with high conflict court involved clients. So in a community, you have each of those people with the areas where they feel really passionate about, that sharing that knowledge and experience, staying up to date. Maybe they read a research article or read an article or saw a resource, a new resource, and they share that in the community. That means you don't have to do it all by yourself. Trust me, trust me, I tried. It was mentally exhausting after a while. Um, so at this point, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to be the end all be all. I will never be the end all be all, but I can be in a community of other like-minded play therapists, and together we're awesome. And one of the things I used to say all the time, I still say it, especially when starting out, when I had a group practice back in Virginia, one of the things that was really important to me was that we met at least once a month, and we one, we talked about things going on in the practice, but we also shared ideas. And to me, what I learned, what feels to me like a bazillion years ago, is my one brain is not the end all be all. All of our brains together is amazing and powerful. The synergy of the group and different perspectives and um, knowledge and expertise areas, or areas where they're passionate about, so they stay up on the trends there, is a very powerful experience, I think. Um, and then the third thing is, I kind of alluded to this earlier. Raise your hand if you ever, your virtual hand, raise your virtual hand if you have ever felt like you are burned out and crispy fried. I mean, we show up session after session after session with that therapeutic use of self, right? Where we want to show up and be present to the best of our ability. Some days we can do it better than other days. Nobody does it perfectly all the time. And combine that with all the administrative tasks like documentation and paperwork, returning phone calls, and feeling sick or stressed out, maybe things in your personal life are kind of a little stressful at the moment, or you have really stressful clients, maybe you have a few of them who are really struggling at that time. That can be really overwhelming and a little crispy fried. Maybe you're working I worked in residential treatment for a while when we first moved to the West Coast. Talk about feeling burned out and crispy fried, man. I liked challenging, and I thought, holy cow, it's been a long time since I started out in residential treatment. It's been a long time. I think at the time it'd been like 30 years. Oh, probably less than that, like 25. Anyways, it was stressful. And back in the day, I was a special education teacher in the 80s, 1980s. We had a self-contained center inside of an elementary school, and all of the classrooms were self-contained. I was the teacher. I had a full-time aide. These were all children with the category, which I hate the name, is emotionally disturbed. Um, Mental health issues, right? They were struggling. They were really hurting kids, struggling with some mental health challenges, and so badly that they couldn't stay in the classroom, which meant behaviorally they really weren't regulated very well. So that sometimes, man, it was all we could do to get through the day. I was burned out. But there were things that we did, even when I was in this center, on Fridays, we had popcorn and we'd sit around and laugh and support each other and give each other ideas and just laugh about some of the things that had happened, just as a way of letting off steam. But also, having a place to share ideas. I know sometimes when I was a play therapist and I was in solo practice, just having another play therapist to run ideas by just felt really supportive and gave me that extra surge. So I don't know if any of you have you felt that way? Have you had those times where you felt burned out, and what did you do? Did you have support? Sometimes going to trainings was a little bit of a boost. That can be helpful just to get re-energized. As play therapists, we like to have a good time at our trainings, lots of playing. That can feel like a boost. Sometimes it can feel like one more thing I have to do and my brain gets full. And sometimes it's really just what I needed, a little boost of energy, getting ideas, feeling rejuvenated. But sometimes we just need to get away altogether. Sometimes you need to get out and do some self-care. Like for me, that's going for a hike or spending time with my family, and having a community of like-minded play therapists to say, hey, you don't have to do this alone. And are you working harder than your clients? That one always got me to go, oh, yeah, that's right. Who's responsible for change? Not me. I'm not responsible for change. I'm responsible to be a guide. I want to show up to be the best guide. I always say I want to be the best version of the play therapy Gandalf that I can be. Like, I'm the guide. I'm not the hero in the story. My clients are the heroes in their story. My job is to help them find their way, but I am not doing the work. And so having a community of support around you that can say, hey, who's working harder, you or your clients? Or, hey, I think it's probably good if you step back a little bit, just kind of like your lifeline in there to say, oh yeah, I'm getting a little too sucked in here. I need to step back and look at this a different way. That can be really, really beneficial. And so um, having that community of support, I think, as play therapists, I mean, I look at it this way: we're kind of relational beings anyway. You therapy is a relational profession. Connecting with clients requires the ability to navigate those relational things with professional boundaries. And it's a professional relationship in which it's relationship. So as play therapists, connecting and with each other is, I think, a really important piece of what we do to support each other. And sometimes it's good to go off and do something and recharge our batteries elsewhere. For some people, that might be traveling. For my husband, it's traveling. For me, it's getting out into nature, spending time with family. So that is it for today. So let me do a quick recap what we talked about today, which is one of the challenges that I think in play therapy that we experience is feeling isolated and having a lack of support, because the vast majority of people go into the mental health profession are working with adults. And in university, when you're getting your master's degree, the focus is primarily on adults and working with adults. And so if you are a child and adolescent therapist, then it can feel very isolating if you don't have others around you, and feeling like you're all alone on that island by yourself. Having other like-minded play therapists around you to share ideas, share resources, give different perspectives, give you a pat on the back and say, hey, you're doing a good job. When you feel like you've just failed miserably, having somebody who say, oh, I don't think you did as bad as you think you did, because you said this, that, and the other, and that seems like a good thing. And you're looking at video and you're like giving feedback, like, look at your client. Your client's connected with you and they're engaged and think you're doing a good job. The other challenge is really staying current, feeling like you're kind of constantly working to stay current on the latest trends, the latest research, the latest resources that are available, trying to do that on top of maintain a caseload, get all your documentation done, do your self-care, spend time with your family can be, I feel like it can be like a gerbil a hamster on a hamster wheel, just like going really fast, trying to keep up with everything, going really fast and going nowhere fast and getting really tired. So I'm a firm believer that nobody can be an expert on everything. At this point in my career, I've kind of realized there's no way. There's no way. There's always something new coming along. And even in a certain specific specialized area, we're always learning and growing. That's the whole point of research, right? That we're always learning and growing and seeing what's working and professionals in our mental health community coming up with new ways of doing things, or sometimes it feels like packaging old ways of doing things, or taking some of the things they've learned and integrating into a new way of doing things, creating new frameworks. It's really, I think, impossible to keep up with everything all of the time. And so being part of a community means that you can take advantage of other people's expertise. You don't have to do all the things all the time. You can get into a community and get feedback, share resources, hear about the latest trends and the latest research and what the research is saying, or what's a new trend and how is that working, and will it work with this client or that client? Will it fit your style of being a play therapist? Does that fit your approach, right? Even like, I always love using attachment and neuroscience. And looking at things from a family systems perspective. So integrating those in with, what would that look like if I'm using child-centered play therapy? What would that look like if I'm using more of an integrative model with the older kids? Staying current on everything is impossible, but I can get information and resources from other people in my community and see how that may or may not fit in there. And then that's going to help me feel like I'm doing a great job, like, and doing the best that I can with my clients, right? And then the third thing is burnout and emotional and mental fatigue, right? I feel like it's not a matter of if you get burned out in mental health, it's a matter of when you get burned out and how often you get burned out. And then what do you do? Can you recognize when you're getting burned out? And can you recognize, hey, what do I need to do? And to me, that's where being in a community of like minded play therapists can be beneficial, where you have other people saying to you, hey, who's working harder? You are the client. Or, hey, how are you doing? You look like you're struggling. And then coming around and giving support. I love that in Play Therapy Academy. People in the other play therapists in Play Therapy Academy are always, always, always giving each other the most amazing support. That's one of my favorite things. Um, and really just kind of supporting each other to take care of each other, and encouraging each other. Hey, are you getting out and doing something? Or just sharing, hey, we're feeling really burned out. Sometimes we just have conversations about feeling burned out, and then what to do about it, and giving each other support about that. So that is it for today. Just really talking about community and the challenges that as a play therapist that you face, and maybe ways of thinking about being part of a community that might actually just be beneficial. So I've talked a lot about Play Therapy Academy today, which is my online play therapy consultation program. It's very limited. There's a limited number of people that can be in Play Therapy Academy. If you're interested and you really want to take your skills to the next level, you can always pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. Go on the supervision play page and you'll learn more about Play Therapy Academy. I do have a couple of openings in there if you're interested. It's called Play Therapy Academy. But here's the thing. One of the things that I've realized is, as I've talked to people interested in Play Therapy Academy, as we have people in Play Therapy Academy who are graduating and then moving on, like, I just recently talked with a former member of Play Therapy Academy, talking to me about how much she really missed being in the community of people. And there's another play therapy play therapist I've talked to as well kind of really misses the community that they experienced in Play Therapy Academy. And then I realized as I've talked to other people who schedule a video call that talk to me about Play Therapy Academy, because you have to do the video call first before Play Therapy Academy, because I want to make sure it's a good fit. One of the things I've realized is one, not everybody needs that level of support, and not everybody is quite ready for that level of commitment. It's kind of a higher level of commitment, financially and time. And so I was thinking about what to do about that. And I actually have been pondering this idea. Actually, if you my virtual assistant May and I have probably been talking about this for a good year and a half, to be completely honest. Like, how can we how can we scale the benefits of Play Therapy Academy? Because it has to be small, because a lot of people in Play Therapy Academy are pursuing their registered play therapy credential. And so there are certain requirements that have to be met for that, which I'm fine with. But what I realized is it's limited in who it can help. So we've been kicking around this idea for a while, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to share this with you guys. You guys listening to this live stream today are the first ones to hear about it, because I have not mentioned this to anybody before. And that is, I want to create the ability to have community that's accessible to people who maybe don't live in the US and don't need Play Therapy Academy, but they need support. Maybe you live in another country where play therapy is new, and maybe you're the only play therapist, and you would really love to connect with other play therapists. Or maybe you're here in the US or Canada, and you have your credential, or you feel like you're on the way, but you don't really have a community of support to share ideas, get resources, maybe staff a case, right? Maybe get some feedback on what's going on with your clients. And so that's what made me decide that I am launching a new online membership. It's called Play Therapy Collective. So the idea of a collective is that we all come together, and all our heads are better than my one head, right? We come together, and you have that synergy of the energy and the resources and the knowledge of other play therapists, where you can get support, share ideas, look at things a different way, get a different perspective, stay up to date on some training. Because I was thinking we'll have monthly meetings, consultation calls, maybe people staff a case, maybe we do a training, maybe somebody shares their knowledge. Maybe they have expertise in a certain area, share that knowledge, having some resources in there, some a video and some workbooks and some guides to just kind of hone your skills in play therapy, stay up to date on some things, get ideas and those kinds of things. So my idea would be that we create this community of support online that would have in Play Therapy Academy, we have a private group chat where we can kind of get feedback from each other in between. So our group consultation calls. So in Play Therapy Collective, really having that community where we can share ideas and resources, but also having the monthly calls where we get the feedback and kind of that real time hands-on. So I am launching a founding member program, it's kind of like the beta program, but a founding member program where you get to be part of what we do in Play Therapy Academy. You get to be part of what do you need? How can we integrate that in the Play Therapy? I'm sorry, I said Play Therapy Academy. I meant Play Therapy Collective. You get to be part of that founding member program for Play Therapy Collective, where we're meeting and figuring out like what's going to be beneficial, but you have a group of people to do that with. So the founding member program for the Play Therapy Collective is launching next week. I thought I would put it out there. If people are interested, then let me know. And if you really are interested in doing it, then you can learn more next week. I'm going to talk more about it, so you definitely want to stay tuned. I'll talk about it more next week in my live stream, kind of a behind the scenes look at what my ideas are to get us started. You can register. All of the details, I'm going to share more of those next week. I wanted to make it even financially accessible for people who weren't able to maybe do Play Therapy Academy, which is a higher investment. So if you are interested and you're listening, message me, send me a message, send me a private message, comment in there, hey, I'm interested in this, and we can chat. I will make sure that you get the link that's going to come out next week. Share your ideas. Like so we're going to be in a community of play therapists. What would that look like? So that's going to be starting next week. You'll definitely want to stay tuned. More information about the Play Therapy Collective. And I will see you next week. Bye for now.